Hi.
Wow, you are beautiful. Where were you born?
I was born in Oxford.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And where was Dad born?
My dad is, well, he was born in Pretoria in South Africa, so that's how I ended up with the South African name.
Yes, beautiful name. What does it mean?
Gugu is short for Guguletu, which means our pride in Zulu.
Okay, our pride. And I'm sure you speak fluent Zulu.
Oh, I wish I did. I know Sawubona. That's
cool.
kind of all I know. My dad is fluent, but I'm hoping to learn a little more, actually. I just went to South Africa just a few months ago, and I was embarrassed by how little I knew, so I'm going to study it.
Yeah, had you been before? Do you go a lot?
No, it was actually my first trip in November of last year, and it was an amazing experience. I was actually there when Nelson Mandela passed away, which was kind of epic and sad. But I felt really privileged to be there at that time because it was also a celebration of his life, and he's one of my idols. So yeah, it's special.
Yeah. We all remember where we were that day. When you first come here, what's that experience like? Is it culture shock? What was that like?
I was so culture shocked when I first came to LA. I couldn't drive, which, you know, is such a big deal. You know, I'd grown up with so many American TV shows and movies, so like the acting part was fine, but so many sort of cultural references that I'd sort of missed out on.
Yeah. I mean, you watched shows like Cosby?
Yes.
Huxtables?
Oh my God, I loved the Cosby Show. I watched that like my whole childhood. Yeah.
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 Yes. So then, I mean, because it's the same for me, and I'm from a part of Africa called Cleveland. What's been the most surreal experience or meeting?
Oh my God. I mean, a lot of it's been surreal. Probably the most surreal thing recently was having lunch at Oprah's house.
Stop.
That was kind of a crazy experience. Just this week, she saw Belle and she tweeted about it. And then she invited myself and the director and the cast to have lunch at her house in Santa Barbara.
That's cool. As an actress, you probably draw on a lot of voices. But aren't you usually required to play an American woman? Like when you first walked out, I'm like, oh, she look like she's from Atlanta. Oh yeah, the hot Atlanta.
Yeah, it's crazy because, you know, actually before Belle, I had been working in an American accent for nearly 3 years. I did a TV show called Undercovers, and then a movie called Larry Crown, and then another TV show called Touch. And for all that time, I was sort of spending 6 months at a time on those shows doing an American accent day in, day out. So it was kind of, you know, great practice. But then when I got to Belle, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can still remember to act in my own voice. Right. Of course, it all came back. But yeah, it was kind of funny having done American for such a long time.
Speaking of funny, you got to tell them the specific Larry Crown story.
Oh my God. Yeah, when I auditioned for Larry Crown with Tom Hanks, who was amazing, the legend that is Tom Hanks, and he was directing it as well as starring in it. And my agents had said, you know, I'd done a tape and it was in my own accent, or in an American accent, and there was nothing of my natural voice on there. So he thought that I was American. And then I got a call to say, you know, Tom Hanks wants to meet you in person. By the way, he doesn't know you're British. So could you...
And they wanted
a quintessentially American girl. They said this was a really American character, no Brits, no Australians. Yeah, when I went in, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to meet Tom Hanks for the first time, who I've grown up watching in movies, and pretend to be American. And what's going to happen? You know, do I have to make a whole backstory? What's going to happen if he asks me where I went to college, or, you know, I don't know, all these American things. So I kind of tried it. And we got talking after about 5 minutes. He was like, so, like you, where were you born? Where did you grow up? And I was like, Oxford. And I broke the accent completely and just kind of laughed. And I was like, you know what? I heard you didn't want this to go to a non-American, but that's not true, is it? And he laughed, luckily. And I got the job. So it was...
Yeah. Good.
It was like...
Mr. Hanks. Good. Now, Belle is very unique in the sense that some things you can have a story from a book, a story from some life situation or incident, but Belle is from a painting.
Yeah. The story is actually inspired by this amazingly beautiful portrait of my character, Dido Elizabeth Bell, and her cousin. Oh, there's the painting right there, her cousin Elizabeth. And, you know, for the time, this was very unusual to see a woman of color depicted in somewhat of a high status look, and her gaze, as you can see, is out to the viewer, which is very unusual. Normally, you know, a person of color at that time would have been depicted in a very subservient role, not looking, you know, they'd be looking at the subject and giving them status. And in this picture, you know, Elizabeth is sort of putting her hand to Dido in an affectionate way, and it's very striking for the time. And I also just loved her facial expression. She's got this cheeky little mischievous kind of thing she's doing, and I just knew she had a personality, so it really intrigued me.
Yeah, this is not the real one. I got this at the Ladera Heights Swap Meet. Yes.